Yo, it's Guido coming at you with the Tactics Talk. How y'all doing? Have a great day out there. I plan on doing that myself, and thank you for your support. Welcome back to World of Tanks with moi, Guido. We talk about ourselves in the third person. Love and Retirement has sent me this replay in his Hellcat. Not the Super Hellcat, but the Hellcat at Tier 6. Sitting in a bush. Alright, so Love and Retirement sent me this, said, hey, take a look at this. What are some of the things I could have done better? You can see we're at minute 13:48, or we have 13:40. We're not at minute 13:48. How would you say that? We have 13 minutes and 48 seconds left, and we're at minute 1 point whatever it is, math in public. I don't know. I don't know how to do that. In any event, we've been at it for about a minute. Coffee's nice. Coffee's nice. We actually, Loza is back here with us, and we have a whole bunch of people over here on the west side of the map, my friends. 7 TDs on both sides. This is becoming endemic to the game. A lot of TDs, a lot of people sitting in the back, that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to mention that, Love and Retirement. I don't love the spot. You actually have a pretty good game here, but everyone's got to play the game their way, right? So this is where he's comfortable going. Potentially, for me, I would like to be over about K7, maybe get some shots in the middle. And if I have enough support, I would even push my Hellcat into the town. I would be very careful about it. But I'm looking at the other team and going, well, there's a 3001, some mediums. The BDR G1B and the KV1 are the kind of toughest animals over there. And I'm just really thinking that if you get a couple friends in town and you're dropping the nice 240 Alpha with this Hellcat, plus your top tier. So this is an argument about looking at the teams, what you've got, looking at the deployment, and potentially doing something you might not always do with the Hellcat, which is go into the town. Because you're top tier with a good gun and you can pretty much dominate. And if you're careful and avoid return fire, you can do some great work in there. All right, so that's not what happened. That's just Guido's suggestion in this case, not in every case. But here we are. We're over here on the valley, on the 1-2 line. And very interesting, folks. He's back in this bush here. Now, I've not seen people... Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. The grill has just fired, and there goes the shell. Very awesome. This bush is... I assume people use this. I've never really used it that much. I've used it as a defensive bush when they push up onto the cap, but not for this. But take a look at that. Very interesting. So he's got shots on the guys who might come up over where the JPZ-4 is, up there. And he's got shots on guys who come up over here. And, of course, he can pull back. There's one artillery on the other side. He can pull back behind that rock and get a little bit of cover. So let's see what Love and Retirement does with this. So I've said my piece about initial positioning, where I would probably go. You wouldn't want to zing out there way in front of everybody. Notice most of his team stopped. Look at all the TDs down there. Down there in the south, over here. Bunch of them. So he's going to take some good shots on these guys here in just a moment. But the Tog is trundling into town, and maybe if you go with him, you drag a few with you, right? You've got the gravity of your tank and the situation right there, and you kind of drag some guys along with you. Maybe like a comet flying through the solar system and dragging along all the particles that are flying off you. Just the comet's tail, you just pull those fellers along, and the Tog's kind of getting maybe some support. In any event, that's not what we did. We're hanging out here. So, that being said, what do we do? Well, we shoot people while we have an opportunity, and so far, the enemy team has given us opportunities. That's a good thing. We're already at 547 damage. There are typically people to shoot that go into the valley of the... I won't say it. Into the valley. Let's just call it the valley today. There are typically people doing things like this. I don't know what this guy's plan is other than get dead. And, what do you think, guys? Do you think that guy will learn, or will he go to the same place next game? I don't know. I don't know. But certainly, if you go there, you shouldn't probably stick your front sprocket out in the side of your tank, and when there's, I don't know, 42 tanks sitting back here shooting you. All right, let's take a look at this right now. Pretty much won the valley as far as there's nobody up front. And the EZ-8 just ran away. The other guys are kind of sitting in the back. They're TDs anyway. You saw the JPZ for the run away. So right now I'm like, well, it looks like we've kind of won over here, but not really. They're setting up a defensive situation, and we only killed one. There's a lot of tanks left in the game. What do we do? Do we push up into the valley? I don't think so. There's a grill. There's a lot of guys sitting there, a bunch of TDs. This thing doesn't have a particularly strong turret. I mean, the Matlet's okay, but it's not really meant for that kind of stuff. So I don't think I'd push up there. Well, I think what I would do is I would head to the city. Or maybe to right here, to H4. Look for shots there. Maybe cluster up with the rest of the TDs. But again, I think I zing across and I get into town and I try to support that Tog a little bit. Like, let him get in there and tank the shots. Hang out around behind him, kind of second echelon. And when they go after him, punish him, right? They take a shot, you pop out, hit them, and that Tog can tank a lot of shots before he dies. So just a little bit of support in the town for that Tog, and it's over, man. So he's in there kind of getting beat up. There's only the AMC, ELC. And you're spending a lot of time sort of looking right here. If all you have to do is take a look at the mini-map, right? Take a look at the mini-map, and you'll notice that all of those guys have fallen back, and you were kind of zooming in there for a while. All right, good. Now we're on the move. I like it. Come over here, see if we can maybe get some shots if they're very silly going through the town. Doesn't look like they are. If you take a look at the mini-map right there and pay attention to the road, they're going to have to come pretty far, and although you may have had a shot here potentially, I don't think so, though. Maybe in that little opening there as he crosses, but those are going to be very hard to kind of sneak a shot between everything, thread that shot through there. The Tog has a lot of hit points still, but he's about to get hammered because he's got 3 or 4 tanks around him and no support. All the RBFMs, and I'll tell you what, if the RBFMs and you had gone into town, that's a lot of speculation and a lot of what-ifs, which clearly didn't happen, but my goodness, you'd have gunned those guys down so fast in there. Absolutely. So I'd be concerned about the middle a little bit. We go up to this bush, and I'm going to say, Levin, you're really playing defensive right here, and I think a little bit more offense would help your team out. Now, the good news is that you seem to be familiar with the defense piece, because we're going to get in here and we're going to do some pretty good work as they come around the corner. And this then starts to talk to the old win a flank, keep pushing, and die thing. And this is what the purple team is now going to fall into, right? The purple team is now going to fall into the old trap of, herder, we're winning, let's just push in. So he goes in, he gets armor not hit, unfortunately. The RBFMs are sitting there, man. 3 of those things, the firepower those have as far as the amount of shots they can send down range is outrageous. They don't do particularly well. They seem to be kind of out in the open. I guess one's in a bush, the other one's up on the edge. There's a T-78 sitting back there as well. Notice that the Valley of the Nubs back there has not done very well, and they have kind of done what the purple team's doing. Your team is going herder, we push them through the valley, keep pushing. And what are they doing? They're dying, right? Now, to some extent, that sounds like a kind of nihilistic. I see you going after the G1B, and he's actually right there. So we're not investigating enough. So don't be unwilling to kind of move your mouse around, because you had a nice shot in the KV-1, and you're starting to get a shot on the BDR G1B, but you had a shot on him first. You might have actually got one right here on the KV-1 as you saw that marker come across. Just lift up your cursor and investigate that. Remember, it's going to be right below. It's going to be right below where the marker is, right? So just go. Oh, there he is. So if you're doing what you're doing like this, and you know they're in the open, just start moving it around. Find those guys. So I think you maybe had 2 shots in there actually. You're going to get one there. Very nice. You'll double or triple tap, and we take that guy down. There goes the T-50. He's wandering around. And now we have a T-67 moving around in the middle. And I don't see you really investigate this. It's going to be hard. I don't think if... Yeah, I can't quite... Can I get a marker on him? No. I think he's still below the terrain. There's a little hill right there, so I think he's below the terrain. That is not a destructible building, I don't think. He dies. Very good. I mean, why he would do that, I don't know. Nice shot. Well done on the KV-1. Okay, he didn't get lit. He comes around here. There may have been some intervening foliage. You move back, come back out. That wasn't bad. He actually, I think, shoots. Oh, he's shooting somebody else, I think. Yeah. Yep, he was shooting the T-78. Was tracked. You take him down. Nicely done. Now their RBFM is sitting over there. That's a crazy pixel shot, but it works. Nicely done. And I'm once again back to him. He just went dark, but those two guys are kind of sitting there on that middle road. Looks like they're not coming up and over because that RBFM would have shot him. All of a sudden, the T-67 gets a little sneaky shot because he got lit on that last shot. So he actually is in that bush, and the RBFM's not seeing him. Like, I don't even know. How did that even happen, to be honest with you? Maybe there's a double bush situation, or he was far enough back from the bush. That's crazy. That's pretty crazy that he was able to shoot you right there, and the RBFM didn't see him. So potential, what do we do now? We could push into the town. There's a lot of tanks left, but let's just count noses. We got 3 over on the west side. We got 2 in the middle. Math and Public, that's 5. RBFM, 6. That's all of them. For me, man, right now what I do then is I'm going to roll across here. Just use the speed of that Hellcat. Get back in here and see if I can't suss out where the M10 is. I wouldn't go down into this open area because these 2 clowns over here will get you. But stay back behind these rocks and maybe sneak around this corner of this big rock down here in the southeast and see if you can't see him. And then maybe start working a crossfire on the 34S and the T-67. So this is the part of the game, the mid to late game, where you start looking at possibilities to leverage the situation in terms of the terrain and the tanks and start taking it to the enemy. The Brittain and the T-34, but you're going to stay very defensive right here. So we kind of look for this dude. We're going to let them come to us. You have some time. It's 7 minutes left, almost 8 minutes left, so it's not an emergency yet. Although the T-34 just lost. Notice the purple teams decided to counterattack because your team, they defeated the attack, and now they're pressing up to take a look at what's going on. And they lose a tank for it because there's already... So we cruise across here. What I want to say about this one right here, Levin, is if you're going to cross an area where you know there's potentially a crossfire, put your turret towards him because you might have been able to snap a shot off on this guy. He's right there. We're going to keep going. Another shot goes in. Thank goodness that misses. I think that might have been the M10 RBFM from down below, potentially. Although the T-34 reloads really quickly, so that could have been him. So we're going to come across here. Let's see. Do you get lit here? Yep. Alright. So I was wondering if you were still lit as you came across. You may have been. He certainly, more than likely, saw your marker moving across through here. So I would have paused a little bit longer before I came around the corner. But you do a nice job. We'll get rid of that guy. We'll actually block the RBFM damage. Alright, once they fired like that, although the RBFM reloads really quickly, I'd have ran forward to this rock here, and because I'm always looking for crossfires in situations like this where the Brittain's already got this angle covered. If I can get over here, then I can start maybe even work down below, come up behind him, that kind of stuff. And you eat a shot right there. I like that you moved there. I would have kept going. He reloaded so fast. I'm very surprised he didn't. Oh, he did. Did he shoot at you and bounce again? I think he did. It's a little bit lucky right there. You're using a lot of APCR. I don't really care. I'm not a gold round. What's the word I usually used to call it? I'm not a... what's the word? Gold round. I'm going to say idealist, but that's not it. Anyway. I can't think of the word. Anyway, I was very clever too. I liked it. It was a good way to say it. Use all the gold you want. I will say that in terms of profit, you probably, air quotes, didn't need it right here. You could have got away with most of those. I think against the BDR and the KV-1, I would have absolutely been shooting gold. The rest of them probably really didn't have to worry about it as much. But hey, you know what? You do you. You've got 2,354 damage, 373. All right, now let's talk about it. How do we close this thing out? There's an Artie and there's 3 guys. Those 2 are probably still on the middle road. The RBFM hasn't moved. Interesting. So we can move up and maybe start helping clear that guy out. We definitely need to get rid of him before we push the 2 on the road, though, because we'll be in a crossfire. Although the Brittain doesn't seem to really care. And I think the RBFM dies pretty quickly here. So I would move up there and start getting hit points immediately instead of sit here. There's really no reason to sit there. And I didn't think there was a whole lot of reason to go back here either. Maybe you were looking for angles potentially on the 34 and 67. But the Brittain's got that covered anyway. The other RBFM just got left on 1 hit point. That's pretty funny. So get on in there and get your hit points, man. Keep on trucking. I think you left some hit points on the table right here, just sort of being very timid. 34S fell off the edge, which is pretty funny. He's actually in a little crevice right there. The T-67, I think, is about to go into the drink. You'll see him fly down the hill here. They're both off the edge. There he is. And he falls off. I thought the Artie killed him, but he didn't. Oh, that's unfortunate. I think for me, just take a look at that. I probably would have aimed maybe down this way. That just gives a little more miss possibility as opposed to where you were right there. There's a lot of tank down here as well, so maybe right up in that general area. And he dies. You don't get the grill. So I think late game there were some opportunities for you to be a little more aggressive, move forward, and look for shots. All right, so going back to the beginning, I didn't love the initial positioning, but again, people play the game they want to play, and that's great. As long as there's shots there and you're reducing hit points, then there's not a whole lot of argument to it. I think you had an opportunity maybe to zing across earlier and go help the Tog and maybe kick the snot out of the attack that was coming through the town. As it was, you went more careful and defensive, and they continued to push, which worked out for you, and you shredded them along with the other guys. So nicely done as far as that goes. I like to swing back over to deal with the counterattack that was coming through the valley right there. We talked about some things you could do to maybe make that a little more effective and maybe be a little more careful in the one case right there, but you shredded that as well. And then late game, I think you definitely had an opportunity to get in there and maybe get another kill, and there wasn't many hit points left, but get a few more hit points or maybe a kill or two in there. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on how to make that game a little bit better. But as it was, you got a 4 kill, 2,354 damage, 384 assist. Very careful, well thought out, defensive kind of gameplay. So good on you for that. Take the rest of it for what it's worth, if anything, and have a great one. That's all I've got, my friends. We will see ya.